Hey YouTube, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing some meal prep using this giant, almost 17-pound turkey that has been sitting in my freezer for way too long. I got it in early November with the free turkey Ibotta deal, and I did not end up using it for Thanksgiving, so it was just this massive 17-pound block taking up a third of my freezer just by itself. Well, not a third, maybe like a fourth, but definitely taking up a lot of space. And if you saw my food pantry haul video, you would have seen that I got a lot of meat from the food pantry. So I definitely need to use up what's already in my freezer to make room for the incoming stuff. And also to make sure that I am going through and rotating through my stock properly. As well as I don't really meal prep in the sense that like I'm pre-packaging all of my lunches and dinners and everything. I meal prep more in I like to cook things in bulk, so that way whenever I am hungry or when I'm coming home from work for dinner or taking lunch, I just have food made. And my budget doesn't really allow for a lot of pre-made foods like frozen dinners and stuff like that. So everything that's in my pantry or in my fridge or freezer almost always has to be made into something. Like I have dried beans, dried rice, and then in my fridge I have vegetables and meats, and they're all great, but you have to do something with them to turn them into a full meal. And I know around this time a lot of us do have turkeys in our freezers because I know especially after Thanksgiving, a lot of grocery stores will put their turkeys on like a sale price or even a sale price leading up to Thanksgiving. So it's really nice to be able to stock up on some meat. I saw some places had their turkeys on sale for like 50 cents a pound or less, or if you spent like $50 in the store, they gave you a free turkey or something like that. So I'm sure there are quite a few of us who have just like a random turkey lying around, and we're either kind of intimidated on what to do with it, or we just don't have the time to undertake this massive bird and do something with it. So I'm going to show you guys a few meals of what I'm going to be doing with this. A few, if not all, I'm not sure. I'm trying to see what we're going to get out of this by the end of it. But to get started, I'm going to unwrap the bird. It's been sitting in my refrigerator for about a week thawing, so it should be completely thawed. And I'm going to break it down. Like I'm going to cut off the wings and the breast and the backbone and all of that, mostly because I cannot fit this in any cooking apparatus that I own. And if that is a similar situation to what you're experiencing, it's definitely better to go ahead and break it down and have it in more manageable pieces. I've cut up a few turkeys and I've watched a few YouTube videos, and it seems like, oh, not turkeys, I've cut up a few chickens, and it seems like it's the same as a turkey, just larger. So I'm gonna time-lapse myself cutting this up for you guys, but I'll also link down in the description a video that I'm following because, yeah, I'm not gonna be great at this. Okay, so just kidding. I wasn't able to get a good angle on what I was doing to this poor turkey, and it ended up taking me a little bit longer than the video made it sound like it was going to take, but I did it. And if I can do it, you guys can do it too. It'll just take a little bit longer. And as you can see, it all does not fit in my largest pot. So, I'm going to be... I thought I was going to be boiling the whole thing to get some stock, but obviously I underestimated how big this thing actually is. And, you know, obviously I'm not going to be boiling this. This is the bag of, like, organs that they had stuffed inside of it. I'm going to keep this and give that to my dog. And then here's the neck bone. I'm also going to pull this to the side. This piece right here is the backbone. I took the breast off of it. This was like the hardest piece to get because my turkey didn't have very distinct fat lines, and so it was kind of hard to get it off. But this thing is heavy. Like this has to be a good like 5 pounds by itself. And then here this big chunky piece right here. And I did wash my hands and I've washed all of my stuff. Big chunky piece right here is the whole breast piece. I can't even like pick it up. It's slippery and at a weird angle. But I'm trying to get in here. This is, I believe this is the turkey heart. Again, they had this just inside the turkey, and I will give this to my dog. She's quite picky and she won't eat it raw, but I'll boil it and just give it to her. And then I have my 2 wings, which I'm not going to boil right now. I'm going to pull these to the side with my other stuff. Let me get, where's the other wing? That's a leg. And then I do have 2 of these leg quarters, the leg with the thigh attached to itself. So I'm going to be boiling both of these. Wow, it's like too big. I can't even get it in the camera angle. 1 second. How about now? Maybe? Let's see. Yeah, that's a little better. But yeah, I have 2 of these leg quarters, the big breast piece, and then I'm going to be pulling everything else out. So I'm going to take out the other wing, and I am going to be boiling just these 3 pieces, the breastbone with the breast meat on it and my 2 chicken thighs. Let me get that all situated. Maybe I'll have to do this in 2 smaller pots. 1 second. Ah. Yeah, no, there's no way I'm going to be able to fit both leg quarters and the whole breast meat with the bone inside this one pot. And my next smallest pot, or next biggest pot after this, is a Dutch oven. And I don't know if I want to drag out the Dutch oven just to boil 1 chicken leg quarter or turkey leg quarter. So I'm going to keep that one on the side, and I will probably cook it in the oven. But to get started with this, I'm just going to go ahead and fill this pot up with some water and let it boil until the meat is cooked. So I will see you guys back whenever that is all cooked up. And then as for this bowl of meat over here, I'm just going to be putting this into some containers and sticking it into the refrigerator for now. And then we'll get back to these pieces in a second. Alright, so it's been about an hour, and I tried to get you guys above my stove the best that I can without putting this on the stove while it's going. But as you can see, this broth is actually still pretty clear so far, but I do have a little bit of junk floating on the top. And you don't have to take this stuff out, but depending on how much of it there is, or if there's like, you know, other stuff floating around in it, it not only does it make your broth look better, but that stuff floating around, oh my gosh, I totally just spilled it, but that stuff floating around can make like a weird flavor. Totally doesn't make it inedible, so if you're unable to get around to doing this, like, it's not that big of a deal, and you could even still take it off like at the end whenever the broth cools. But I'm just gonna go ahead and go around here and skim off what I can. It took about 30 minutes for this to come up to temperature to even start cooking. And yeah, it looks like I didn't really have a ton to get off of here. And another thing to mention, that while this is boiling or simmering, you don't really want the water level to drop down too much. So if it starts to get too evaporated, then you can just go ahead and top it back off with some more water. And it looks like, I think I'm gonna let this go for at least another hour to make sure everything is cooked, because this is a large pot with a lot going on in it. And normally people would be concerned with cooking it too much and making it tough and chewy or something, but like I said, this is a lot of meat and the bone is still on, so we're just trying to get it cooked all the way through. So it's been about 2 hours now, and all I've done is pull out the turkey. I didn't have a bowl big enough to hold it all, so I just put it in this pan. You could also just put it on a cutting board or even a clean countertop whatever you have to work with. And now all I'm going to do is wait for this to cool off so that way I can shred it and get the meat off. And all of these bits floating in the water, I had trouble getting this meat out because it was so massive, especially the chicken breast with the bone on it. So all this stuff floating around is just like skin and chicken, or not chicken. I keep calling it chicken, but it's turkey that was falling off as I was basically breaking pieces off of it, like the turkey breast. One of the whole breast just like came off, completely just peeled away from the bone. So this is totally cooked. And yeah, I'll see you guys whenever I can get it all shredded off the bones. While I'm waiting for the turkey to cool down, I have pulled out my wings and backbone again, and I have my oven preheating to 400 degrees, and I'm going to roast this meat and the bones. Not to cook it all the way through, I am just looking to get some really nice color on the outside of these, because I am going to be throwing these pieces into my crock pot overnight to make a really rich and dark bone broth. And of course I'll be able to pick off kind of a little bit of meat from these once it's done, but really I'm looking to get all of the flavor out of these bones. I'm not really looking to make any dish in particular. I usually do this with chicken bones, and when I'm done with it, I just throw them away. I don't even bother looking for any meat on these, but because a turkey is quite a bit larger than a chicken, I'm sure I'll be able to salvage some of the meat off of this. And I'm not going to put any seasoning on this, just like I didn't put any seasoning in this broth over here with this turkey. I want to leave it plain so that way whenever I'm doing something with it, I have the power to do whatever I want. If you knew you were going to use it for a specific purpose, totally go ahead, season it, put whatever you want in the broth. I will probably be tossing in a couple of vegetables that we'll see later, but for now, I'm just going to get these in the oven browning up. And then over here, I also pulled out that other leg quarter, and this thing is freaking huge compared to just a regular chicken leg quarter. I just put it on a baking sheet, and I'm going to put some onion powder, garlic powder, rosemary, salt and pepper, and a little bit of oil on top to get this all to stick. I'm gonna make my life easy and use this oil spray. This stuff, super expensive. It really is just oil in a can. I can't say I recommend it more than any other thing. I got it as a coupon deal, you know, as you do. I can't use it with my left hand, but I will show you guys what it looks like when I put everything on top. I just went ahead and sprayed it a little bit, but I wanted to say, with stuff like this, I don't know how to tell you, the amounts that I'm putting on this because I've never, measured it. I just sort of sprinkle to my heart's content on, yeah, that looks like a good amount. With this rosemary, I don't know why I opened the other side. I can never get it to open with the little side. I have to use the big one because it's like leaves, so it's not gonna come out. But anyway, yeah, I don't ever measure how much I'm putting in. I don't even know how to tell you, this looks like about a 1/4 teaspoon, or this looks like 1/2 teaspoon, because I really don't know. If you had more time and you were doing all of this ahead of time, I would totally marinate this, and you can marinate it in whatever you want. I am just putting these seasonings on it because this is what I want to put on it for right now. But if you marinate this before you bake it, totally will come out just as good. That kind of feels like a lot of salt. One of the biggest things when I first started cooking is I was not putting enough salt on anything that I made. To me it tasted fine, but there were just some dishes where I was like, this does not taste good. Why doesn't it not taste good? I have this much salt left. Is that fine? It's probably fine. This is a big piece of meat. Should I have seasoned both sides? Probably, but it's one side down. It'll be fine. And then I'm gonna just go ahead and put these lemons on top, and as they cook, they will put their juices onto it. You could also like fold this up or put something on top of it, but I am out of aluminum foil. So we're just going to go ahead and bake it like this, and I'm going to toss it in at the same time as my bones. So that's going to go into the oven. I'm going to shred up this meat, and I will turn the camera back on when all of that has been done. Alrighty, now that I finally have something to work with, we're going to get into the actual preparing of meals. To start, I have 1 cup of rice that's going to go into my pan. And you're like, why is there already rice in the pan? There may or may not have been a small disaster where rice fell onto the table. And I may or may not have just scooped it into the pan. It's fine, my counters are clean. And to add to that, I'm going to add 1 can of cream of mushroom soup. Not only did we get this as a deal from Ibotta with the free Thanksgiving, ooh, that jiggle, but this is a very common item to receive in a food pantry box, and including this one, I have a total of 3 cans, so I definitely needed to find a recipe to use this in, and I found this recipe online, and it sounded so good. And to this can, I'm going to ladle in some of this turkey broth and add about 2 of these cans of broth in. So 1 second while I do that. And the reason you want to use the can as your quote measuring container is you want to be able to use the liquid to get all of the good bits out of the inside of the can and make sure you get all the flavor out. And now that we've got our soup and our rice mixed together, you could stop here and like this be the end of your seasoning of it if you didn't have anything else, because the whole point of adding the cream of mushroom soup is that it already comes with all of the seasoning that's in the soup. And if you say on the outside, it says condensed soup. So like this thing is already pretty packed with all of the stuff that's in it. And if you were really on a budget, you could just end it here, cook the rice, and that be what you ended up eating, and that is totally fine. However, I am going to add some garlic and onion powder because I add that to everything. Again, I don't know how much that is, I just put it in there. And then some pepper, and just like the other piece of turkey, I'm gonna go ahead and add in some rosemary leaves. And if I had Italian seasoning, I would use Italian seasoning, but I am out of that, and all I have is oregano. So I'm just going to put a little bit of oregano, just because I want herbs in there. And a little bit of salt. The soup definitely has a lot of salt in it, however, I did not add any salt to the turkey that I made. So the turkey and the rice do not have any seasoning on them, so that's another reason I want to go ahead and add in a little bit more essence to this. And then while we have that cooking, it probably helps if I turn the stove on, but while we have that cooking, I have chopped up about a cup of this stuff. Well, it was a cup before I chopped it up. It got kind of fluffy. You don't have to chop it up, however, my partner did just get some teeth removed, and things are kind of still hard to eat, so I just went ahead and chopped it up real fine, so that way it would be super easy to eat. And then once this rice and broth liquid mixture comes to a boil, I'm going to lower the heat and then add in some of this broccoli. I got this broccoli as my $1 free bird's eye veggie item when we had the free Thanksgiving Ibotta offer. I did not get green beans because I vastly prefer broccoli as a vegetable. And I'm not sure how much of this I'm going to add to it. We'll just have to see once everything gets going. Alrighty, so some time has passed on these bones. As you can see, they're nice and golden. They're a little bit darker in person. And my other I keep calling it chicken. My other turkey is still in the oven. It was on the lower rack and didn't get quite as much color on it as these ones, so I just moved it up one rack. My rice is cooking over here. I did end up adding the whole bag of broccoli to that, so that's going. And then I started some eggs. I had 3 eggs left in my refrigerator and I wanted to get that container out, so I'm boiling them up. And over here, I'm going to be making a whole bowl of turkey salad. I wasn't really measuring how much this was whenever I was shredding it up. I just chose my smallest mixing bowl and was like, yes, this is a good amount of turkey salad to make. And in my family, we just put salt, pepper, relish, and mayonnaise. We normally don't use light mayonnaise, but it is a good brand of mayonnaise that was on clearance, and I needed mayonnaise when I went to the store. So that's why I have light mayonnaise, but regular mayonnaise, whatever kind of mayonnaise you like, mix it to your texture and flavors desire. And one thing that I am adding to it that my family doesn't normally add is some celery, just because I have it and I want to use it up and I like celery. And I can definitely hear that chicken sizzling away. As you can see, it's a lot closer to the burners. And the lemons did fall, one of the lemons, not all of them, but one lemon did slide off. And while I was checking on it, I just slipped it back on. And then as for these boys, let me grab my crock pot and show you what I'm going to do with them. I have this suspicious bag that has been sitting in my freezer for some time, and all it is a bag that has slowly been collecting various bones and then pieces of celery ends and carrot skins and onion skins and such parts, because when I make any kind of broth, I can just dump this boy out and then stick this bag back in the freezer and fill it all over again. And all I'm gonna do is fill this thing with as much water as it can handle and then put it on low and then have it make broth. You could also roast these vegetable pieces, and then for the bones you could flip them over and then roast them some more on the other side, but I'm lazy and that's about all the roasting I feel like doing today. Alright guys, I think this is where I'm gonna call it for today. I ended up with some turkey salad, these 3 containers of light turkey broth, and then this is the cream of mushroom rice dish. It did make more than this. There's actually some still in the pot right now, but then also a bowl of it was eaten for dinner. And this actually tastes really good. 10 out of 10. We'll definitely be making it again because I probably will definitely continue to get cream of mushroom cans from the food pantry. And then we have our roasted turkey leg quarter. And then from the turkey that I cooked up, I still have these 2 quart size. Let's see, what does this say? Sacks. I don't know. I got these from the Dollar Tree. Yes, quart size bags. 2 more quart size bags of turkey, so I could definitely turn that into something else. And putting all of these meals into separate containers has already significantly downsized it. It will be much easier to fit all of this into my refrigerator. And the best part about a lot of these meals is that you could freeze these. I don't know how this would taste because it has the fresh celery in it and you're not cooking it after, but all of these other things that are meant to be eaten fresh, like freshly cooked, you could totally freeze these and then just pop them into like the microwave or something to thaw them out, or put this back in the oven or whatever you needed to do. And then over here, this broth is definitely not done. Like, that is going to take several hours. I won't even like turn this off until tomorrow, but all it's gonna do is turn into this, but just a darker color because of like the vegetable skins and then the dark color of the roasted turkey. And when I get around to eating these up and eating the other things that are already in my fridge and freezer, you would just use it as the same way you would use chicken. You've heard me call it chicken the entire video because like I've just been using it as chicken. So for one of them, I'm gonna make like a turkey noodle soup, and the other one a turkey pot pie. But instead of like a pie crust, what I usually do is I take some biscuits, and right now I don't want to dig them out, but I have these pre-made biscuits that were given to me in the food pantry. So I will probably just like mix up the turkey pot pie filling and then like just stick it in like either like an oven tray, or you can put it in an oven safe skillet and then just put those biscuits on top and then stick everything in the oven just to like warm it up and have the biscuits kind of soak up some of that liquid. If you're doing fresh biscuits, like if this was like the biscuit dough, or even with these biscuits, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut them in half like horizontally so that not only do they stretch further, like they can cover more surface area, but they tend to be like, it tends to be too much crust, I say loosely, if you just leave them like this. So that's just another idea of what you could do with this stuff. And yeah, without anything left to show y'all, I'm gonna cut the video here. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye!